It's early morning on New Year's Eve 2017. 5 officers from the Douglas County Sheriff's Department
Sheriff's Office!
are responding to a 911 call
Sheriff's Office!
from the Copper Canyon Apartments in Highlands Ranch, Colorado.
I got it, son.
Waiting for them, 37-year-old Army veteran Matthew Reel.
Matthew, come out!
He has a history of mental health issues.
Matt, come out! Matt, come out of the room now.
And unknown to them, a loaded AR-15 rifle.
Open the door! Sheriff's Office!
My name's Taylor Davis. I just decided I wanted to do more for a community.
My name is Michael Doyle. I know I can't change the world, but I can at least change my corner of it.
Jeff Pelly. Just something I want to do since I was little. I haven't thought about doing anything else.
Dave Byer. I first got into law enforcement through the military police. I was 19 years old and thought it sounded like a good idea.
Their graveyard shift had started at 9 p.m. on December 30th. It was a quiet night.
I remember kind of looking forward to that night because, get in there, get it done.
I personally had plans for a New Year's Eve party. Let's just have a good shift, let's be safe. It was actually a pretty slow night too, up until about 3 a.m.
911, what's going on there? This guy in here totally freaked out on me. He kept coming at me. I appeared for my health and my safety, he was at me.
And what was your name?
Matthew.
There was a hazard hit on the home saying that Matthew Reel was a veteran with PTSD and possible access to weapons.
So your radar's a little up at this point?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
What's going on tonight?
Yeah, well, my roommate freaked out on me and
Okay.
came at me. I even put a laser in his face and I'm surprised he didn't go.
When I got on scene, Zach and our corporal who was on scene, they were actually talking to Matthew Reel. It was fairly calm at that point.
Why don't you come out here with this guy right here? You mind if I come in and talk with you, sir? Is he on anything? Does he have any mental disabilities or?
Not that I know of.
Did you guys get in a physical altercation tonight? No. Okay. I'm just gonna get your name in, sir, and then I'm gonna get out of here, okay? Hang on. Hang on. We're here because we're gonna make sure you're okay.
Yeah. No, I know.
Are you okay?
It. Yeah, no, I'm fine.
What's your first name again?
Matthew.
Matthew. Zach. Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Zach immediately developed a decent rapport with him. Zach's approach to everything was very level-headed, very calm.
So how did it end for you guys?
We knew the roommate was going to work, and we knew Matthew Reel was going back upstairs to his room. Then we were just going to move on to the next call, and that was just it.
All right, we're out. Happy New Year!
And yet, 2 hours later, roughly, what happens?
We get another call back there. From what I understood from dispatch, Matthew Reel was extremely agitated on the phone.
Caller's not being cooperative.
He was irate, he was amped, and he was, nonsensical.
So when Zach and I arrived on scene, Zach knocks on the door. A conversation kind of ensues from inside the apartment with Matthew Reel.
Hey, Matt, it's Zach. Matt, it's Zach.
And he eventually opens the door, but before he does that, he says,
He said, I don't have any guns, I'm coming out.
Yes, we can talk out here.
And Zach was like, okay, open up the door, man. We just want to talk to you.
Are you okay?
Yeah, well.
The way Zach was talking to him, he wasn't talking as an authority figure at that point. He was just talking like somebody who wanted to truly help him out.
Well, I want to file a restraining order.
Well, what?
Can you help me?
Yeah, I can.
Eventually, we get to the point where he's like, well, I want a domestic restraining order. And Zach's like, okay, well, we can help you out with that. And then, I don't know, something switched.
Did you not get that message?
Just.
He just slammed the door in our face. Well, I don't think there's anyone else in there.
No. Where did it take him? Or M1?
M1 hold is a mental health hold. Law enforcement is authorized to place somebody on a 72-hour mental health hold involuntarily if they exhibit behaviors where they may be a danger to themselves or others. When the officers had gotten on scene, he was throwing things off his balcony, he was yelling and screaming. We were concerned for his safety. And Zach had basically described his behavior as the most manic episode of PTSD that he had seen.
The team decides to remove Reel from his apartment for his own safety.
When we were coming up with our plan for going up into the apartment, Sarge said, does anyone have a shield? And I said, I have my shield. We kind of set up how we were going to approach the apartment with me being in the front with the shield. Zach was going to be behind me with his gun out for lethal coverage. Doyle was behind Zach with his taser out for less lethal, and then Sarge and Pelly were behind them, hands-free.
Then we actually go hands-on him, try to put him into custody.
Yep.
The officers enter the apartment to find that Matthew Reel has barricaded himself in his bedroom. They don't know he's holding a loaded rifle.
He had not only just barricaded the door, but the entry hallway with large objects that were designed to hang us up.
Matthew, come out! Zach pretty much whispered to me, let's go ahead and kick the door because he's not coming out.
Sheriff's office!
This was never like anything I ever imagined.
I would say probably a 30-round magazine that he dumped on us within a couple seconds.
I hear Zach say, I'm shot, I'm bleeding out.
Hey, I'm going! Cover me! Shots fired! Cover me!
And so I look to my left and I see Zach's down. My first thought is, my friend's down, I need to go get him. So I started crawling, I grab his, I believe it was his right boot, and I just pulled as hard as I could. I moved him probably 2-3 feet. That's when the next volley of rounds started coming out.
It was very apparent by this time that it was clearly an ambush.
And that's when I got shot. The bullet entered just over my vest, just under my armpit.
I saw the blood coming out of my sleeve, so I'm like, okay, I got shot. But then after that, my whole attention is on Jeff at that point.
You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. Stay with me, Kelly. Out of there. Stay with me. Yeah.
So Sarge started administering aid to me, I was administering aid to Jeff.
Right on my back, right.
At that point, that's when I could tell I'm not good. Like my lungs collapsed, I was gargling blood.
Stay with me, Pelly. You're all right. You're okay.
We came under another barrage of gunfire.
Are you able to tighten it? Shooting out the window. Get it out of here. This way. Pelly, over here.
Then you start thinking about Taylor because you're looking around and she's not there. And the last I saw, she went further into the apartment.
Where's Davis? I don't see you. She's inside with them.
Because I knew she was in the apartment by herself, outgunned, and in strange territory.
When the shooting began, Deputy Davis was forced deeper inside the second-story apartment.
I ran into the roommate's room just looking for some kind of concealment, kind of preparing myself to get into a gun battle at this point. Once I was inside that bedroom, I saw a window. So I broke the window and then proceeded to jump out of it. I'm hit! I'm hit! Blue coming around!
What was it like for you guys to see her come around the corner?
Sarge shined his flashlight on Taylor and I could see the badge. And I'm like, oh, thank you.
Parrish still in there.
We have one deputy down inside the apartment. I'm not getting anything from him. All of us have been hit at least once.
Shots fired. 3 officers hit, one's down with medical and SWAT on the way.
Parrish!
When we come back,
The moment when you realize Zach is inside and he's trapped, you felt really helpless.
ambushed, outgunned, and under attack.
I don't have a good feeling.
The desperate attempt to rescue Deputy Zach Parrish.
Parrish, can you hear me?
Stay with us.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
And they went out the front door.
You all right? Where you hit? Where you hit?
They started to render aid to each other.
Where you at? In the chest. Okay. Open it. Open it. I'm bleeding.
And we called in additional resources.
Where in the chest? Where in the chest? Right here. All right, guys. I don't know if I had him. I'm shot in the chest. I'm like this. I don't see you, dude. She's inside with them. I'm shot in the arm and the leg, Sarge. Open it. I need a flashlight over here. You're okay. You're okay. I don't see blood. I don't see blood. Oh, I see blood.
We were continuing to be shot at.
He's shooting out the window. Get it out of here. This way. Tell me over here. Over here. On the ground. On the ground. I got you, buddy. I got you. I got you. We don't care about you. I got you, buddy. I got you. You're okay. You're going to be all right.
Between that time
Doc, can you hear me?
and 7:30, the suspect also shot 2 citizens in adjoining apartment complexes.
Let's go back. Let's go back. Come on. Parrish, can you hear me? No.
At 7:30, a rescue mission was put into place where Zach was rescued, and in defending ourselves, we shot and killed the suspect. We were also at the same time rescuing 2 citizens who had been shot, as I said, in adjoining apartment complexes.
We begin tonight with the breaking news: the deadly police ambush outside of Denver. 5 deputies shot responding to a domestic call, at least one of them killed. The gunman unloading more than 100 rounds in just seconds. A somber scene there, a row of officers saluting as a procession carried away the fallen deputy. The neighborhood put on lockdown, and authorities revealing they've confronted the suspect before. ABC's Clayton Sandell leads us off.
It began as a noise complaint that quickly became an ambush. Early this morning, deputies arrived at this apartment complex in Highlands Ranch, Colorado, a Denver suburb, for a dispute between a man and his male roommate. At 5:55 a.m., the suspect, armed with a rifle, suddenly opens fire.
I need SWAT right now. I need medical.
4 deputies and 1 police officer are shot.
It was like an exchange of gunfire, and pop, and then pop, and then return fire.
2 neighbors are also hit. All of the officers managed to retreat outside, except for 1. 29-year-old Douglas County Deputy Zachary Parrish.
We have 1 deputy down inside the apartment. I'm not getting anything from him. All of us have been hit at least once.
All of them were shot very, very quickly, and they all went down almost within seconds of each other. So it was more of an ambush type of attack on our officers.
Over the next hour and a half, the suspect fires more than 100 times.
We need to get our officer out of there.
Gunfire even heard over the radio.
Fired several rounds, firing right again.
At around 7:30, officers enter the apartment, confronting and killing the suspect in a final shootout. Deputy Parrish does not survive. He was married, the father of 2 children.
We are deeply saddened by the loss of Zachary. When I sat with his wife and held her hand, I could see in her eyes her life is over.
The other wounded officers, all now in stable condition.
Okay, we just heard it right there. Those other officers in stable condition. Clayton Sandell joins us from the scene in Douglas County, Colorado. And Clayton, what have you learned about the suspect tonight?
Hey, Tom, they have not released the suspect's name yet, but they say he was known to officers. They had been to his apartment complex dealing with him in the past, but they say he did not have a criminal record. Tom?
Clayton Sandell leading us off tonight.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
We begin tonight with the breaking news. The deadly police ambush outside of Denver. 5 deputies shot responding to a domestic call. At least one of them killed. The gunman unloading more than 100 rounds in just seconds. A somber scene there, a row of officers saluting as a procession carried away the fallen deputy. The neighborhood put on lockdown, and authorities revealing they've confronted the suspect before. ABC's Clayton Sandell leads us off.
It began as a noise complaint that quickly became an ambush. Early this morning, deputies arrived at this apartment complex in Highlands Ranch, Colorado, a Denver suburb, for a dispute between a man and his male roommate. At 5:55 a.m., the suspect, armed with a rifle, suddenly opens fire.
I need SWAT right now. I need medical.
4 deputies and 1 police officer are shot.
It was like an exchange of gunfire, and pop, and then pop, and then return fire.
2 neighbors are also hit. All of the officers managed to retreat outside, except for one. 29-year-old Douglas County Deputy Zachary Parrish.
We have 1 deputy down inside the apartment. I'm not getting anything from him. All of us have been hit at least once.
All of them were shot very, very quickly, and they all went down almost within seconds of each other. So it was more of an ambush type of attack on our officers.
Over the next hour and a half, the suspect fires more than 100 times.
We need to get our officer out of there.
Gunfire even heard over the radio.
Fired several rounds, firing right again.
At around 7:30, officers enter the apartment, confronting and killing the suspect in a final shootout. Deputy Parrish does not survive. He was married, the father of 2 children.
We are deeply saddened by the loss of Zachary. When I sat with his wife and held her hand, I could see in her eyes her life is over.
The other wounded officers, all now in stable condition.
Okay, we just heard it right there. Those other officers in stable condition. Clayton Sandell joins us from the scene in Douglas County, Colorado. And Clayton, what have you learned about the suspect tonight?
Hey, Tom, they have not released the suspect's name yet, but they say he was known to officers. They had been to his apartment complex dealing with him in the past, but they say he did not have a criminal record. Tom?
Clayton Sandell leading us off tonight.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
Earlier this morning, around 5 o'clock, officers were called to a residence, 3400 block of County Line, on a disturbance. Once they were there, they were met with gunfire from the suspect. 4 officers were injured, and 1 officer was killed in the line of duty. We will be giving you some photographs of the officers through my PIO staff after this conference here. But I want to mention a couple. I want to mention a couple things. The 2 other civilians, were injured in this as well, and they are non-life-threatening injuries. But our hearts and prayers go out to them as well as just regular people trying to live their life disrupted by this individual. So a total of 5 officers were involved in this situation, and 1 deceased suspect. The only thing I'm going to talk about the suspect at this point, because we do not have him positively identified through the coroner's office. We are familiar with him, and more information will come out a little bit later once we've positively identified him. The officers that were injured, and I'll give you their status here real quickly. Deputy Mike Doyle, who's a 28-year-old deputy sheriff. He's in stable condition at a local hospital. Deputy Taylor Davis, 30-year-old deputy sheriff, is in stable condition at a local hospital. Deputy Jeffrey Pelly, 32-year-old officer who just got out of surgery, and I was told he was in stable condition as well. and then CRPD officer Tom O'Donnell, 41-year-old, who was in stable condition as well. The officer who was killed in the line of duty is Zachary Parrish, a 29-year-old deputy. He had worked for us for about 7 months. He had worked at the Castle Rock Police Department for a little more than 2 years. He is survived by his wife and 2 children. I spent some time with his wife. I can't tell you how difficult it is for a leader to sit down with the spouse of an officer who was killed in the line of duty. They had many hopes and dreams, and he was doing his job. He was doing his job well, and his life was taken from us this morning. I want to thank the men and women of the Douglas County Sheriff's Office for responding to this and doing a great job of containing it and trying to keep other civilians from being injured. You see behind me is a lot of partners that have been helping me through this. The Castle Rock Police Department, Parker Police Department, the Colorado State Patrol, my staff, the district attorney. We've been in close contact with his office on search warrants, etc. And so there's a lot of people that were helping us. I can't even name and I don't want to name all of the agencies that came to assist us. I will tell you that the Aurora Police Chief met me at the hospital. There were a number of sheriffs that showed up at the hospital to provide support. They also sent resources. This is going to be a several-day investigation, as you can imagine. So I asked the community to have patience with us. We've essentially locked down that apartment complex on County Line Road. There were well over 100 rounds fired in this engagement. The 100 rounds was from the suspect. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done yet for us to determine where we're at with this investigation. I finally want to say that we are deeply saddened by the loss of Zachary. When I sat with his wife and held her hand, I could see in her eyes her life is over. And I've been a blessed sheriff. I've had wonderful things happen to me, wonderful savings. My deputies have been shot, ran over, and they've survived. It was very difficult today to go see Zach for the last time. I thank all the citizens, and I really thank the people that have come to this station here and the outpouring of support. They've brought food and stuff. My detectives will be working around the clock, as will the detectives from the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office, the 18th Judicial District, support units that are helping us. So there'll be a lot of folks here eating that, so I thank you for doing that, and I thank you for your prayers. I ask you for that again. It's not a simple thing. It is a very meaningful thing to pray for Zach's family. They're still coming into town, and his wife and his 2 little people. So I'll answer a few questions. A lot of stuff that we're not going to share at this point, and I apologize right up front. So I'll do a few questions if you have some.
Sheriff, can you give us just a sense of the timeline, how long this unfolded, and how you finally brought it to a conclusion with the suspect being shot?
We responded to the residents at 5:14 this morning on a verbal disturbance, and it was almost immediately after that, upon arrival of the officers, the shooting took place. The officers were injured and were extricating themselves away from the apartment complex. And then other officers came in and we maintained and secured it. The suspect continued to shoot at officers for some time until he was engaged by officers and was killed.
Was that a SWAT team, or was that
It was members of a joint task force unit. We do have a regional SWAT team that all these guys up here are part of. And so the officers that were involved in the actual shooting, their names aren't being released, obviously, at this point, because the investigation is still ongoing. but they are part of a regional task force.
Can you tell us if Zachary was the first one of the first ones on scene because of, so we can understand why so many people got shot?
The 4 officers all arrived at the same time, and they went into the house at the same time and contacted him in a bedroom portion of the apartment complex. And the sequence of the officers who was shot first, I don't have that available. We'll hopefully get some body cam footage that will help me answer some of those questions. Although I do know that all of them were shot very, very quickly, and they all went down almost within seconds of each other. So it was more of an ambush type of attack on our officers. He knew we were coming, and we obviously let him know that we were there to investigate the disturbance. And so I don't have any other particulars on.
What kind of weapons, sir?
When you said that you guys are familiar with him, and you said you can't say much more, but can you give us an idea of how many calls to that apartment you've had in the past, or how well are you familiarized with this particular suspect?
If it's who we believe it is, we know that he has had law enforcement contact on a number of occasions. I was told just a few moments ago that there was no criminal history, so he has had encounters with law enforcement throughout the metro area, and that's about the only thing I can say right now.
What kind of weapon, Sheriff?
That is still being determined by the investigators. We do know that it was rifle, and other than that, I can't tell you.
Can you tell us more about Zachary and his children, please?
Yeah, I'll come right back to you, Anastasia. What was that?
Was this a domestic violence incident? In general speaking, were those the most violent type of incidents that your deputies encountered?
Well, yes, they are. Domestic violence investigations are very, very dangerous. When the officers arrived at the apartment, they quickly figured out that that there was some kind of unfortunate circumstance that was taking place in that apartment. And immediately started to investigate it, and that's when they were shot.
Can you tell us more about Zachary? I know he worked with you for a short time, but how old are his children, and why did he choose to come work for you?
I don't know why he chose to come to work for us. He worked for a great police department. He came from the Castle Rock Police Department, and loved it there. And they're a great agency, and so he chose to come over to Douglas County. His children are young. That's all I'm going to say at this point right now, but he has 2 very young children. And his wife, they have a great support system in place. Obviously, with the holidays, there were a lot of people here available to them. And we have resources available to her as well, and the children.
Sheriff, you said that the first call you arrived at about 5:15 or 5:13, and then I believe the shooting didn't start till about 5:55, 5:56, somewhere in there. If I'm right on that timeline, correct me if I'm not. But what was going on in that amount of time before the shooting started?
What I know about that, I don't have the particulars on the time available to me, but I do know that the officers were engaging him. They were having conversation. They were trying to talk to him. They were talking to other persons or person that was at the apartment complex, and so they were conducting an investigation. And during that time is when he chose to barricade himself into a bedroom.
And did they know of the previous call history? Is that?
Yes. Yes.
Why
Yes.
did they choose to go into the house? Were there hostages or something? Why did they choose to go into it?
There were no hostages. They were let in the house by either the other person that lives there or him. I don't know the particulars on that, but they were let into the house to conduct their investigation.
Could you tell us at which point your department sent a reverse 911 call to the area? How long after this happened? And if there was a lag, why was there a lag?
Good question. I have no answer. I don't know. If there was a lag and the reverse 911, we'll look into it. I don't know that. I do know that we do send out 911s, and I don't know the particulars on what the message was sent. I do know that officers were working to try to get people that were on either side of the apartment complex evacuated, but the time frame on the reverse 911, I can't answer that.
I know it's early in the investigation, but is there one thing that was said or happened that escalated it to this person shooting at your deputies, or Was the shooting immediate upon their arrival?
No, and I don't know if there was anything that escalated it, of why he chose to do that. Those officers will be interviewed as soon as they're able to be out of the hospital, and we can get more information on what led to him barricading himself and shooting at the officers.
Just two clarifications. You said one that the officers were wearing body cams?
Yes, ma'am.
The two, how did you say how many people were in the apartment at the time of the response?
I believe just two.
Two people?
Two.
Children?
No children.
Okay. Then so who called you guys?
A neighbor called noise disturbance.
So it was not a domestic, or that's what you guys have been saying?
Well, it's not a male, female domestic. It was a disturbance at the house. We originally got it as a domestic, but when the officers got there, they quickly learned that it wasn't a husband-wife or partner type of thing, and that was part of their investigation. But it was originally called in as a domestic, and then quickly learned that it was a disturbance.
When what sort of disturbance is just so generic? Was there a fight? Was there what was going on in the apartment?
The suspect was just making a ton of noise and annoying everyone around him.
Sheriff, I understand one of your deputies in this incident was separated from the others and was actually in the apartment with the suspect, which must be an agonizing thing. But can you tell us how long that deputy was before he was rescued?
I don't have the exact time frame, but yes, he was. When he was shot and went down, the other officers went down right around him, and they tried to pull him out, but they were unable to due to their injuries. And so they were able to crawl to safety. He was not conscious, and so they weren't able to talk to him or to get him out. And the suspect continued shooting at the officers over Zach. The time frame, how long it was before we went in there and got Zach, and eventually was engaged with the suspect and shot and killed him. I can get to that time frame. I don't have it available to me.
Sure, can you clarify the two civilians? Was one in the apartment with the suspect and one as a neighbor? You mentioned there were just two inside the apartment when the police showed up.
No, there was two separate people, not the person involved in the disturbance.
Sheriff, two men inside the apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
And so the civilians who were injured, were they in other apartments? Were they bystanders? How did that?
I believe they were in other apartments, but I need to clarify that to lock that in for you.
Sheriffs, were your deputies aware that there might be guns in the apartment when they responded to the call? Were they calling?
We respond to every call anticipating that everyone has a gun. This is Colorado. Everybody has a gun. And so we anticipate that when we respond to them that people have guns, and we address that in that fashion. I don't know if there was any lead-in information that there were guns until they encountered it. And at that point, it was too late for them to, make any further assessments.
Sheriff, we know that 4 people were taken to Littleton and Venice, but one of the 3 people taken to Skyridge, I was told, is a law enforcement officer. Who was taken to?
That was the Castle Rock police officer that was taken to Skyridge. Yeah. You had a question?
So the 2 men inside the apartment when you responded, one of them being the suspect, the other one, what was his relationship to the suspect? Were these roommates, family members? They both lived there, presumably?
They were just roommates. He's cooperating in the investigation fully.
And he has not been injured?
He was not injured.
How long, since the first shot started, until that joint team was able to go in there and take down the suspect?
7:30. That's 7:30.
7:30, so 5:45 to 7:30.
And was Zach, were you able to take out Zach at 7:30?
A little before that, yes.
Was he already deceased at the point?
Yes, he was.
Do you know if he died when he was shot? I know the coroner, but...
I talked to, and I don't want to speak on behalf of the coroner, but I did talk to the emergency room physician that attended him at the hospital, and I did that so I could go meet with his wife to tell her, how long he was there. And really, I got to worry about my officers who backed out, and they think they're partners inside. The physician said that he had no no ability to survive the injuries that he was hit. He was hit multiple times, and the locations he was hit would not have been able to save his life.
And Sheriff, you guys, yes, people say you signed up for this job. However, it feels like Detective Wright was yesterday, but a year ago.
Yes.
He survived. You lose one. How does the department deal with such difficult events and such loss in such a short amount of time?
Well, I have good friends standing behind me who have been through this before, and I have good support mechanism through the county, and that's where it's very, very important. Commissioner Dave Weaver, who used to be my boss, came and was there, support. So it's great to have a support mechanism to help us, because this is not something that you can go to school to learn how to do. So I've been asking them all questions about, am I doing the right thing? The key here is taking care of Zach's family, and then taking care of the family of the officers and the officers who survived this, and make sure that we can get through it on the other side, and continue to do what we do best, and that is provide a public service to the people of Douglas County, to try to keep them safe, try to eradicate this type of behavior. And that's what these officers do in the middle of the night. They go to these calls hundreds of times, and they all turn out okay. It was unfortunately tonight did not. It didn't turn out okay for Zach and for the other officers. So I have a lot of support mechanism, a lot of folks here. My command staff are at my side all the time, and really what we're trying to do right now is to figure out how we can put together a farewell service to Deputy Zachary Parrish and the service that he did for the citizens of Douglas County.
Were all of your deputies wearing vests?
Yes, ma'am.
And where was the fifth deputy when he was shot? We're assuming also that all of them are men, so forgive me if there's a woman in this.
There is a female, and that's Taylor Davis, female officer. They were all wearing vests, and the rounds all struck them outside the area where the vest was at, or in areas where the vest doesn't cover.
And the fifth deputy, because didn't you say that 4 originally responded?
Yeah, they were the Castle Rock police officer. I'm not sure where he was injured. I don't know exactly where he was injured. He was shot in the leg.
And did that happen after the fact, responding? I was told that he's a SWAT officer, right?
Yeah, that was, I believe that was when they were engaging him to go rescue Zach.
Sheriff, could you just give us a sense of just the speed and the level of violence that occurred here? It's obviously hard for those of us who are not law enforcement to fathom what happens when you have 5 officers standing there and one person gets the drop on them.
There's a lot that's going to come out of this investigation, and we will look into that on what was going on in that room. Like I said, we'll examine body cam, but initial interviews with the officers, they were doing exactly what we do in every other disturbance call. And people have guns in their homes, and once they barricade themselves, you can almost always assume that there's a gun there. And so the situation, went very quickly once the officers could no longer negotiate with him, could no longer talk to him. And this happens a lot in these types of calls.
I know it's the worst on your watch. Is this the worst day in the department's history?
Well, losing an officer is you can't put one above the other. And I've been here 37 years and have lost friends in the line of duty. You mentioned a detective that was shot just a little bit more than a year and a half ago. That's difficult. It's never easy to lose one of your deputy sheriffs. It is the first for me as a sheriff to have an officer that was killed in the line of duty. And that is why I lean on my partners that are here to help guide me through this, and my friends in the community. This is a tragic day, and this is a tragic day that we'll be feeling for a long time. Zach was a good kid, a smiley kid. Go up and down the halls, you could see his face, and he was eager to work and eager to serve. His wife told me today that he loved this job more than he had loved any job he'd ever had. So you get a kid like that that's, you know, just loving to serve. And unfortunately, he was called today.
Sheriff, you said that the roommate let you into the apartment, or let your officers into the apartment, is that correct?
I don't have that information. I can get that for you. I don't know who let who in.
So just to clarify, he lived in the apartment complex?
Yeah, two males lived in the apartment complex. And I can tell you this, we didn't kick any door down or anything like that. Somebody let us in, and then we were engaged in a situation.
Can you share any details of that final half hour before the gunman was shot? Anything you know at this point, realizing it's preliminary?
I know that we were doing what we could to secure the neighborhood. And putting officers in place, snipers and other tactical officers in place to secure that area in the event that it went mobile or he got out. And so there was a lot of work happening. We had a lot of resources. Officers from a lot of law enforcement agencies responded to assist us in this. And they were making plans to go in and extract Zach. And try to do it in the most safest possible way while the suspect was continuing to shoot at officers. So there was a plan to deal with someone who was shooting at him and to do a officer rescue. They put that plan together very quickly and I think very efficiently. And at some point, the suspect engaged officers and was shot and killed.
So Zach was the first one in?
I don't know who was the first one in. I can't tell you that. I don't.
You said that the roommate was cooperating with the investigation. Can you talk a little bit about how he's helping you and what he's told you?
All I can say is he met with detectives just a few moments ago and is cooperating with all their questions.
You said the suspect engaged with officers at some point. Was he inside the apartment? Did he come outside the apartment?
He engaged him inside the apartment.
Will there be charges filed against the roommate?
That's too early for me to tell.
Sheriff, now that you recovered the rifle, do you have reason to believe it was a semi-automatic or automatic?
I don't have that information yet. That scene is still locked down. We're waiting for search warrants and other issues that we have to go through. And then once we have that, we'll have that information. I'll share it. I just don't have that right now.
Are neighbors allowed back in their homes yet?
Yes, neighbors are allowed except for the immediate location. And I think that we're working with folks that live there to try to get them back into their apartments that are adjacent.
Again, trying to understand those last few minutes, you said it was inside the apartment. Apartments generally are not very large, Sheriff, so did your deputies enter the apartment and then the shootout started? What can you tell us about?
They had entered the apartment and was having dialogue with him. There was conversation. I don't know what that is until we can look at the body cam. But they were talking to him and calling out and asking him questions.
Calling out, was he in another room?
Yes, and what was that?
Was he in another room when they were talking to him?
Yes, he was in a adjacent bedroom.
Sheriff, you mentioned that law enforcement had been to this residence before. Had they been there earlier this morning before that 5 o'clock call? Or?
Yes, we were. We were there earlier, around 1:30, on a noise complaint. But when the officers arrived, there was no noise, and they couldn't find any evidence that there was any kind of issue going on. So they left, which again happens all the time. And they went out the front door.
You all right? Where you hit? Where you hit?
They started to render aid to each other.
Where you at? In the chest. Okay. Open it. Open it. I'm bleeding.
And we called in additional resources.
Where in the chest? Where in the chest? Right here. See if I had him. I'm shot in the chest. Come like this. I don't see you, dude. She's inside with them. I'm shot in the arm and the leg, Sarge. Open it. I need a flashlight over here. You're okay. You're okay. I don't see blood. I don't see blood. Oh, I see blood.
We were continuing to be shot at.
He's shooting out the window. Get it out of here. This way. Tell me over here. Over here. On the ground. On the ground. I got you, buddy. I got you. I got you. We don't care about that. I got you, buddy. I got you. You're okay. You're going to be all right.
Between that time
Zach, can you hear me?
and 7:30, the suspect also shot 2 citizens in adjoining apartment complexes.
Let's go back. Let's go back. Come on. Parrish, can you hear me? No.
At 7:30, a rescue mission was put into place where Zach was rescued, and in defending ourselves, we shot and killed the suspect. We were also at the same time rescuing 2 citizens who had been shot, as I said, in adjoining apartment complexes.